Hello and welcome to Clay Pigeon Kart Club on the 11th of April 2021 for round 1 of the NKRA and Blue Challenge. The Formula Blues are back after the winter, after the ensuing national lockdown. As you can see, several drivers there, including number 3 Russell O'Neill, very happy to get back out and racing again. And racing was indeed going on as the number 1, the reigning champion, Anthony Cleal, would take the win in Heat 1, followed by Russell O'Neill, Dave Watts, Sam Dybel, Sarita Schoen and Michael Bell, with Billy Thomas in 7th in his first MSUK race in 22 years, ahead of Taylor Waldron and Sylvain Vessier into 9th, despite having to start at the back of the grid for all 3 heats due to a late entry, heading in Richard Puddle in 10th. And they would be followed by Ben Joseph and Paul Alexander. In Heat 2, Rich Puddle would in fact take the win, so a bit of a turnaround in fortunes ahead of the Oaklake Dave Watts, just edging out Anthony Cleal and Russell O'Neill, with Sarita Schoen 5th ahead of Ben Joseph, Kevin O'Neill in 7th ahead of Rob Mortimer, with Billy Thomas and David Waldron rounding out the top 10 in the number 7, the Octane. They'd be ahead of Chris Underhill and Alex Fortune, and in 13th place, number 27, the novice Kieran Quirk, making his way up from the back of the grid just ahead of Rod Schoen and fellow novice Phil Shears. And in Heat 3, it was the O-Plate Dave Watts who was successful, ahead of the number 3 Russell O'Neill and Taylor Waldron in 3rd, ahead of Rich Puddle, Michael Bell, David Waldron, Sarita Schoen, Alex Fortune, Paul Dybel and David Good making up the top 10, ahead of Paul Alexander there, the number 6 in his new Zenith, with Ron Schoen 12th. But one big thing for Heat 3 was number 30 Sam Dybel crossed the line in 3rd place but was disqualified in post-race scrutineering due to being 0.2 kilos underweight. That is really going to set him back for the final. Here we have the grid for the final. It's actually headed up by the Oaklake Dave Watts, ahead of Russell O'Neill by 2 points in the number 3. On row 2 is Rich Puddle and Sarita Schoen, ahead of Anthony Cleal and David Waldron, picking out his son Taylor. Billy Thomas lines up 8th, ahead of Alex Fortune and Michael Bell, rounding out the top 10. Bell's uncle Rob Mortimer lining up alongside in 11th, ahead of Kevin O'Neill, the leading legend. David Good in 13th, ahead of Ben Joseph and Paul Alexander, rounding out top 15. Chris Underhill 16th ahead of Sylvain Vessier, and the top novice Kieran Quirk lining up 18th ahead of Paul Dybel and Ron Schoen. Sam Dybel down in 21st after his post-race exclusion and a Heat 2 seize, so look for him to be moving forward, ahead of Tom Parker in 22nd in his first race, with Phil Shears and Mark Church, the pair of novices, lining up on row 12. Mark Cook I don't think has made it to the grid unfortunately, and Adrian Helps in 26th this season, swapping the spanners for the race suit. Good to see him out there, and a non-start for Nigel Vickery as well. As you can see, the drivers now coming through the formation, that big grid of 25 karts out there. You can see the O-Plate Dave Watts and the number 3 Russell O'Neill playing a little bit of mind games, trying to get some heat in the tyres. And we're back on board with Rob Mortimer going through buttons and up towards top bend. Keep an eye out there in front, the number 64 Taylor Waldron, look for him to be aggressive as around top bend. And Watts and O'Neill controlling the pace. And there they go, and it looks like a good start for Watts, a good start for frankly everyone in the top 10. Rich Puddle's going with him though, and he's alongside Russell O'Neill as they go down towards Billy's blind, and Puddle muscles his way up the inside, so it's Watts leading from Puddle. Now back to Rob Mortimer, looks side by side there, that's Bell and Billy Thomas ahead of us, with Alex Fortune in the number 50 looking to get a run, so all tight and all swapping positions up in the top 10 there, look. There's Fortune looking to try and go around the outside of Thomas, but to no avail, but Thomas gets the run out against Bell. They're going side by side through the horseshoe, and now round buttons, and they're still side by side. Bell looks like he's got the edge there, is up into top bend, and out of top bend they go. It's Watts leading from Puddle, O'Neill and Cleal, and there's a gap. Schoen, Waldron, Bell, and then the entire pack coming streaming through. And here we go, Russell O'Neill, and he's lost it, and he's hit someone! We're going backwards off the track, don't know who he's hit. It's Anthony Cleal, the number 1, looks like he got hit, with Rob Mortimer in the 66 going around in sympathy as well. As now onto the Sturmey straight, Mike Bell now looking at the back of David Waldron, and ahead of us that's Sarita Schoen getting all out of shape. Taylor Waldron makes the move. Now Schoen and David Waldron going side by side in towards the horseshoe. Schoen going to retain that position ahead of Waldron, but Taylor Waldron now up into 3rd. Now on board with Rich Puddle. You can see the lead Dave Watts is starting to pull out from Puddle in 2nd. Then it's Waldron, Schoen, Waldron, Bell, Thomas and Fortune starting to break away. There's Sam Dybel going around the outside of Sylvain Vessier a little bit further back. Now back on board with Rob Mortimer after his spin, looking to recover. His first target is number 73 of Mark Church in the Tony Kart Venox. Looks like we're going to make the move round the outside of the kink, and then a big lunge against Adrian Helps. Looks like Mortimer's going to have made that place as well. Now we're back on board with Bell in his new Octane, chasing David Waldron in the other Octane, and they're both chasing Sarita Schoen through buttons once more, and now up towards top bend. You can see Taylor Waldron starting to scamper away into the distance with the white bumper. Then it's Schoen, Waldron, Bell, Thomas, Fortune. Then there's the next pack with Ben Joseph heading up Sam Dybel. And there's Waldron sliding wide and Billy's blind. Bell's going to head up the inside into the chicane. It looks like he's going to make that stick. Meanwhile, there's Anthony Cleal. He's got himself out of the tyre barrier and he's now attacking the back of Mark Church. So too Russell O'Neill. So everyone who went round there getting back going once more. Now on board with Bell. You can see ahead of us Sarita Schoen, and ahead of Schoen is Taylor Waldron as they go round the horseshoe through buttons. And Schoen getting a bit out of shape. Little bit of stones and rubble and stuff kicked up from the inside of that curb there. But it's Schoen, Bell, Waldron, Thomas, Fortune, and Sam Dybel on the back of them already. There's the next group of three, and then there's Kieran Quirk. They're the head of that group, with Paul Alexander right behind him as Anthony Cleal now making the move on Rob Mortimer up into top bend. So Cleal on his recovery drive. So too this man, number 3, Russell O'Neill. He's going to pull up alongside Adrian Helps going down the straight, and it looks like O'Neill's got the grunt. And sure enough, O'Neill goes through. His next target up ahead is Mark Church in the 73. There's Dave Watts leading the race ahead of Rich Puddle, ahead of Taylor Waldron. They're all separating out at the front. Then it's Schoen and Bell, and look at that pack behind. Sam Dybel has made his way all the way through. Billy Thomas next, and Alex Fortune side by side with Waldron. There's Paul Dybel attacking Paul Alexander, and the two novices at the back of the train, Tom Parker and Phil Shears in the classic Lotus colours, having a good old duel. Then there's Cleal and Mortimer and O'Neill. Now on board with Rob Mortimer, and you can see there's someone's off on the inside. I don't know who that is. It looked like a blue suit. It's through the chicane we go. Now back on board Russell and O'Neill. Let's see if we can see who it is. And that looks like the number 50, Alex Fortune. And sure enough it is. So Fortune having a moment there. Hopefully he gets back up and running in one piece. Now out at top bend again. Sam Dybel starting to break away and closing on the group in front. And there's more groups forming. That's Kieran Quirk attacking Chris Underhill with Paul Alexander in close company. As Anthony Cleal trying to close in on that group up ahead, with Rob Mortimer trying to go with him as well. Then there's O'Neill, and that is Alex Fortune back up and running, so hopefully nothing too awry with that cart. And he's ahead of Mark Church. And that's the leader, David Watts in the O-plate coming up to put a lap on Adrian Helps. So he's got a big lead over second and third, and now we drop back to Mike Bell in 5th place. Looking at Sarita Schoen ahead of us, going down towards Billy's blind. That gap seems to be coming down ever so slowly. Long races, 12 minutes plus a lap of racing. Now into the chicane, through the right, through the left, and up the Sturmey straight in towards the hand hairpin. Schoen's covering the inside, but Bell not in a position to make any form of move yet as they go round the hand hairpin and up to the horseshoe. You can see the next group behind going dueling on the way into the hand hairpin. That's the group with David Waldron and Ben Joseph in it. Now up towards top bend we go once again. Now we're back on board with Russell O'Neill. He's chasing fellow recovery Rob Mortimer ahead of us in the 66. And the gap opens up to the inside, and Russell O'Neill's going to slot through ahead of Mortimer, the two Mac Minarelli drivers. And that's Anthony Cleal going side by side with Tom Parker out at top bend. Cleal looks to have made that move stick on the novice. Then there's O'Neill and Mortimer and Fortune all trying to close in. And we're back on board with Bell. Sarita Schoen ahead of us as caught Adrian Helps, and it looks like Schoen is getting a bit balked by Helps. Through buttons they go, and they both go past Helps. So now Bell on the back of 4th place Schoen, and 6th place Sam Dybel now right with them. It's a 3-cart group. As we head down the straight and in towards Billy's blind. Bell looking for any opportunity to make a move on Sarita Schoen. He's set up for a run potentially up Sturmey straight. Now up the straight we go, and Bell moving across quite early, and that's going to leave the door open, and sure enough Sam Dybel in the number 30 is going to pounce. Sam Dybel now from 21st, he's up to 5th, and he's right on the tail already of Sarita Schoen. See if Schoen can hold off the charging Dybel. Top 3 have made their way up off the road. There's Taylor Waldron going through shot, then there's the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. So they go down the straight, back on board with Bell, Sam Dybel in front of us. That's Kevin O'Neill having passed Ben Joseph, and here's another battle. That's Paul Dybel looking to have a go at Chris Underhill. Ron Schoen and Anthony Cleal side by side in there as well. And Russell O'Neill ranging in on the back, and that's an overtake. That's Sam Dybel up to 4th place, ahead of Sarita Schoen, the number 2, making a carburetor adjustment in response. Does Schoen have any retort? We shall soon find out as they round buttons and up towards top bend once more. There's Dybel losing a lot of the exit curve, and Bell's got a run on Schoen. They're going to run side by side down the straight, across the timing line into Billy's blind. Bell going up the inside, but he's going to slide wide, and Schoen goes right back underneath, so positions remaining as such. And that's Anthony Cleal with a hand up. It's Anthony Cleal with a hand up as Russell O'Neill passes Paul Alexander, and that is a black and orange flag that I assume is for Anthony Cleal. You can see there, look, the bumper dragging along the ground, so that is Cleal's day done. Now we're on board with O'Neill. Ahead of us, the number 63, Tom Parker. Ahead of him is number 27, Kieran Quirk, looking to the outside of Ron Schoen. These two, the top 2 novices at the moment, but Quirk's move on Schoen has left him vulnerable, and Parker now up alongside. They're going to go side by side through the horseshoe, and Parker's going to make the move around the outside. And Russell O'Neill's going to follow up the inside, so positions all are changing in that group. That's somebody off! That's somebody off, and it's a spin! That looks like Chris Underhill. He's going to get it pointed back in the right direction, but Underhill's gone around. Rob Mortimer goes through, and that's number 6, Paul Alexander, looking like he's on the hand throttle there, so a problem for Alexander. Russell O'Neill now up the inside of Tom Parker into the chicane, so O'Neill makes another place. His next target, the number 11, Ron Schoen. And now in front of us, the number 2 is Ron's daughter, Sarita, battling still for 5th place with Mike Bell as we go down the straight. Bell looking to the right, looking back to the left, going to try and switch back underneath for the chicane. Schoen says no, keeps the door shut. There's Paul Dybel, he's managed to escape the fray. O'Neill ahead of Schoen, ahead of Parker, and they've pulled a bit of a gap. That's now Phil Shears ahead of Kieran Quirk. And that's the O-Plate Dave Watts putting a lap on Rob Mortimer now. As Alex Fortune going very sideways ahead of Rich Puddle. The struggling Paul Alexander and Taylor Waldron there in 3rd position. Sam Dybel trying to catch him, but he's leaving Schoen and Bell in the dust as they're battling hard, as Bell's now got the run once again. Up alongside Schoen, round the kink and to the inside of Billy's blind. Is he going to get it stopped this time, and can he cover the exit? Yes he can. Bell into 5th, Schoen down to 6th. As Paul Dybel being chased now by Russell O'Neill, Tom Parker and Ron Schoen in a battle. Kieran Quirk chasing the back of Phil Shears as well, so plenty of battles all up and down the order. As you can see there, a car slow and coming into the pits, looks like Chris Underhill. It's definitely a red suit. There's Sam Dybel going around top bend once more. There's Paul Alexander struggling on with Bell and Schoen going to put a lap on him. Meanwhile, back on board with number 3, Russell O'Neill through the horseshoe and through buttons. Number 77 in front of us is the Alonso car of Paul Dybel. Round top bend, O'Neill looking to get the run on Dybel. He's going to switch to the inside of the kink, and Dybel's going to say no. Now can O'Neill switch back underneath through Billy's blind? Dybel's run wide. Russell O'Neill up the inside into the chicane. I think that's a move for 12th place. Not a bad recovery drive thus far from Russell O'Neill, but still time on the clock. And there's still a battle for 5th as Bell has not been able to shake Sarita Schoen. And there, look, in the white, that looks to be about the loneliest person on track, Billy Thomas. Ahead of the crazy battle for 8th is Waldron versus Joseph versus O'Neill versus Good. And that's Russell O'Neill trying to range in on the back of that. Tom Parker still over the back of Ron Schoen. And that is Dave Watts putting a lap on the battling novices of Shears and Quirk. And up the inside, that's Rich Puddle on Rob Mortimer, so Puddle in 2nd. Looks fairly secure, but nowhere close to Dave Watts at the moment. Down into Billy's blind once more for Mortimer. You can see there the number 24, Rich Puddle, starting to eke away. Now back on board with Bell, and we're coming up to put a lap on Adrian Helps. Bell looking to the inside. No room there, so you're going to have to wait until after the chicane. And now Bell up the Sturmy Straight. Sarita Schoen's going to have made gains. Now they're going to go up into the hand hairpin, but it looks like nothing doing there. As meanwhile, it's another car in that looks like Paul Alexander, so his problem must have gotten even worse. There, around the top end, Taylor Waldron starting to be ranged in on by Sam Dybel. They've got Alex Fortune in between them. And then Sarita Schoen and Mike Bell still within touching distance. Billy Thomas still running strongly in 7th. He's ahead of the next battle. as that's Waldron, then Thomas's teammate Ben Joseph, Kevin O'Neill, David Good, and Russell O'Neill now starting to range in on this group. The number 3, his first target's going to be the number 9, David Good, as they go down into Billy's blind. Looks like O'Neill and Joseph in front are attacking each other. And now through the chicane and up the Sturmy Straight, Russell O'Neill at number 3. He's going to head to the inside of a hand hairpin, and he's going to make the move on David Good. Looks like he's made it stick as Kevin O'Neill there ahead of us running out a bit wide. Here's an interesting dynamic. Russell O'Neill in number 3 is the son of Kevin O'Neill in the number 10, so family bragging rights on the line as well as the finishing position, as the 2 O'Neills now going to run side by side down the straight. Kevin O'Neill's going to defend from his son, and into Billy's blind. Russell O'Neill trying to get up underneath, but Kevin says no and slams the door. Through the chicane they go, and now up Sturmy Straight, and it looks like Kevin O'Neill's got the run on Ben Joseph ahead of us, and sure enough he's going to go to the outside. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Russell O'Neill. Looks like he's made the move on the inside as they're negotiating. Adrian helps. Right on the outside goes Russell O'Neill. Looks like he's made the move stick on his dad, but ahead of us that's given David Waldron a bit of a breath of fresh air from Ben Joseph. As they go around top bend, everyone made it through in one piece. There's Paul Dybel round top bend, and that behind is the O-Plate David Watts coming up to take the win of the race, but there's still plenty of racing going on as Russell O'Neill now to the inside of Billy's blind. Dave Watts wins the race, and Russell O'Neill passes Ben Joseph. Rich Puddle's going to come second ahead of Taylor Waldron there in the number 30. Sam Dybel's going to be third. A few karts a lap down there, and then there's Bell and Schoen still battling hard to the line. Looks like Bell's going to be able to hold on there. There's Billy Thomas in 7th. Who's going to be 8th? For the moment it's Waldron, but Russell O'Neill is quick out of top bend. O'Neill moves to the right. He's going to pull up alongside, but he's just going to run out of time. David Waldron's going to hold off from Russell O'Neill. There's Paul Dybel and Adrian Help's going to be rounding out our finishers. As the next kart in should be the O-Plate. Sure enough, there he is heading into the pits. And the results will stand after post-race scrutineering. The O-Plate Dave Watts taking the win from Richard Puddle. Taylor Waldron moves up to 3rd ahead of Sam Dybel, who goes plus 17 to finish in 4th place. Great drive there from Sam Dybel, ahead of Mike Bell and Sarita Schoen with Billy Thomas and David Waldron. Russell O'Neill in 9th, taking the fast lap of the race, ahead of Ben Joseph, rounding out the top 10. Behind them is going to be Kevin O'Neill, the top legend, ahead of David Good. Paul Dybel, Ron Schoen in 14th, ahead of the top novice, Tom Parker, beating out fellow novices Kieran Quirk and Phil Shears in 16th and 17th. Rob Mortimer recovers to 18th, ahead of Alex Fortune with Mark Church and Adrian Helps. Finishing the race as well, Paul Alexander, Chris Underhill, Anthony Cleal and Sylvain Vessier coming in early. And that's what it does to the Drivers' Championship. David Watts with a maximum score is going to take the lead ahead of Rich Puddle. Taylor Waldron second with Sarita Schoen and Russell O'Neill making up the top 5 ahead of David Waldron, Mike Bell, Billy Thomas, Kevin O'Neill and Ben Joseph. Sam Dybel's run was good enough to secure 11th ahead of David Good, with Alex Fortune, Rob Mortimer and Anthony Cleal making up the top 15. In the Blue Masters, Russell O'Neill heads the way ahead of Billy Thomas and David Waldron, only separated by 2 points. Kevin O'Neill in 4th ahead of Ben Joseph, David Good, Rob Mortimer, Alex Fortune, Anthony Cleal and Paul Dybel. In the Blue Top Weights, Billy Thomas taking the sweep of the day ahead of Ben Joseph, Paul Dybel 3rd ahead of Rob Mortimer, Ron Schoen and Phil Shears. In the Blue Veterans, David Waldron leads the way with 2 points ahead of Kevin O'Neill, with David Good, Rob Mortimer and Anthony Cleal making up the top 5. And in the Blue Legends, it's Kevin O'Neill, David Good, Ron Schoen, Chris Underhill and Adrian Helps making up the top 5. And that is going to be all the action we have for today from Clay Pigeon Kart Club. Formula Blues will be back again in big numbers in 2 weeks at Mansell Raceway, and we shall see you then. Goodbye.
Tom,
very happy.
very happy.
Very happy. I got through about dying, so that's a good start, isn't it, really? Well done. Really happy. Really happy.